In Hawaii, they are known as kipuka, tiny islands of life surrounded by lava flows of volcanic rock.
So a kipuka is a spot of land that is untouched. What it means in today's world is that here we have the park surrounded by all of this development.
On the west side of the island of Hawaii, it is not just one park, but three. Cultural kipuka known as Kaloko-Honokōhau National Historical Park, Pu'ukohola Heiau National Historic Site, and Pu'uhonua Honaunau National Historical Park. Connecting the three parks is another national park unit, the Kahakai National Historic Trail.
How do you care for these, what we call Wahi Kupuna, which means sacred places? Once they're gone, they're gone.
Pu'ukohola Heiau National Historic Site is a cultural kipuka that stands high above the Kohala coast. Established in 1972, this site preserves one of the last major heiau in the Hawaiian Islands. Every August at Pu'ukohola, we gather for an event called Ho'oku'ikahi, which means to unify as one.
The Ho'oku'ikahi, it's kind of our new year. This is our celebratory prayer.
What we celebrate is a nation born and a nation alive. Its foundation is a temple built stone by stone.
They built a temple. The last temple built for Hawaiian reasons, and that is Pu'ukohola.
The construction of Pu'ukohola Heiau began in 1790. It was ordered by the man many considered our greatest warrior, Kamehameha. In just 1 year, some 10,000 men or more completed the massive heiau.
This particular heiau, Pu'ukohola, was dedicated primarily as a luakini heiau, a human sacrificial heiau, a political heiau.
It was a time of great conflict across all of our Hawaiian islands. Since his birth, it has been prophesied that Kamehameha will unify all of the islands. As a young warrior, Kamehameha was given stewardship of our war god, Ku Kailimoku, or Ku. Kamehameha dedicates Pu'ukohola to Ku. He hopes the heiau gives him spiritual power to unify the Hawaiian Islands. As our gods required, Pu'ukohola heiau is sanctified with the sacrifice of one of Kamehameha's foes. With the heiau now sanctified, Kamehameha's fleet of war canoes head northward toward the other islands. In time, all are defeated or submit to Kamehameha. In 1810, the Kingdom of Hawaii is established. Kamehameha becomes sole ruler and king.
He was the supreme commander. He's the lonely one. What he says will make his people live or die, and that is a very lonely place to be.
For the next century, Pu'ukohola Heiau was also a lonely place to be. By 1960, the temple had become a crumbling and largely forgotten relic of old Hawai'i. But the flames that once fired Pu'ukohola could never be extinguished. In 1972, Congress proclaimed this sacred place as Pu'ukohola Heiau National Historic Site. Today, Pu'ukohola Heiau honors a place born of vision and sacrifice.
It's a place that is living. It belongs to our people, belongs to a great king that helped to begin this process of unification. It allows you to be amongst all of these elements and understand those are the same elements that my ancestors stood in.
At the same time Pu'ukohola Heiau was becoming part of the National Park Service, another Wahi Pana, or sacred place, was under siege.
I think and I shudder, and I get angry when I consider what could have been.
What could have been was the loss of one of Kamehameha's favorite fish ponds, a lokoi'a named Kaloko. During the building boom of the 1960s and 70s, developers were planning to destroy our lokoi'a at Kaloko.
The landowner decided that whole pond could be a private cove. He could bring in sand. He could remove the wall and build a hotel there.
In the face of certain destruction of this sacred place rose a spirit that refused to die. Some 800 years ago, our kupuna came upon this rugged place where fresh water joins the sea. The bounty of fresh water was surpassed by the resources found in the reefs offshore.
It was like, wow, look what the gods gave us. And with a little bit of our help and ingenuity, we can make it even better. What a gift we have.
Just south of modern-day Kaloko Fish Pond, our ancestors began building what would become known as Ai'opio fish trap.
Most of the work was all done by hand. You see them right here, these are the main tools of ancient Hawaii.
At Ai'opio and other fish ponds around the islands, Hawaiians developed fishing skills that became unparalleled in the Pacific. All of the fish ponds built by our ancestors were magnificent, but the one at Kaloko was a monument to Hawaiian ingenuity. Here, they created a massive wall we called kuapā. The seawall was built across a natural embayment. The kuapā would create a large pond where we could raise fish.
Kaloko Fish Pond today is one of the largest seawalls in the state of Hawaii. It's 800 feet long and 40 feet wide, and when you go to the wall, you see how big it is.
The fish ponds enabled our Kanaka to thrive at Kaloko and Honokōhau for hundreds of years. But as Hawaii changed, so did life here. By 1900, most had abandoned our traditional ways along the fish ponds. In 1970, the kuapa at Kaloko was a crumbling remnant of the Great Sea Wall. The developer's plan for a grand resort seemed inevitable.
What was at stake for them was, in a sense, the future. They could see how quickly the landscape was changing around them. How those things that were once so familiar, that were considered to be everlasting, were changing instantaneously, and they saw an opportunity here.
The opportunity was for the lands of Kaloko and Honokōhau to become a national park. In a determined effort to save this place, Congresswoman Patsy Mink appointed 14 Hawaiians to come up with a plan to save our Wahi Pana. One of the kupuna on the commission was Fred Kachola.
And so we said, okay, let's write a report and make recommendations that will tell Congress exactly what this place should be, how it can benefit Hawaiians.
The commission recommended not just a national park, but a cultural park. They authored what is called the Spirit Report. In it, our kupuna wrote, "The Hawaiians who first came to the area
Felt its presence in every rock and tree.
In the gentle waters of the shallow bays,
and in the trade winds that gently swept across the prehistoric lava flow.
They touched the spirit and felt its mana."
In 1978, Congress announced the formation of Kaloko-Honokōhau National Historical Park. Located between Kailua Kona and the International Airport, Kaloko-Honokōhau remains a cultural kipuka for Hawaiians.
This is a very powerful place. And at a time like this, when it's just you and the place, when you can connect to the ocean, to the land, and feel the presence of the people who thoroughly enjoyed and thrived in these simple, beautiful surroundings.
"25 miles down the Kona coast, in the ahupua of Honaunau, is a site that many consider to be the most sacred in all of Hawaii. Pu'uhonua o Honaunau is dedicated to Lono, our god of life.
Pu'uhonua o Honaunau is not just a look through a historical window. It's a door that you can open and you can walk through, and it's a living, thriving place that you can be totally immersed in our culture, in our traditions, and our practices.
That door takes you back centuries to a time when our island was at war.
Hawaii was a paradise, but they had territorial disputes and differences. They had some fierce fighting going on, a lot of bloodshed.
This warrior has been defeated in battle, but he is not yet ready to die. In pursuit are enemies who believe this high-ranking warrior has violated sacred laws called kapu.
If you could make it to the Pu'uhonua, it's kind of like a safe house.
His first attempt would be to get to the ocean.
You know, when a warrior comes to those cliffs and he's looking across Honaunau Bay, looking into this refuge.
For the warrior, there is only one way to get there.
And then he swims for miles. You know, you either give up and get killed, or you stay strong and you keep going.
Once he gets in the area, he knows where he has to be, and he is safe.
For the warrior, it is a time of great confusion. Yet there are signs that Lono, our god of life, overlooks and protects this place.
The Pu'uhonua, as a sanctuary, was this incredible place. It was a place where those who were being persecuted under the kapu laws could go and be freed of that persecution. And not only freed, but also rehabilitate themselves to become what their society needed them to be.
Inside the Pu'uhonua, our fallen warrior begins a spiritual odyssey. Guiding him is a priest we call kahuna.
The relationship between the kahuna and the warrior would be one of love. And sometimes even a disciplined kind of compassionate love. During the process, the kahuna would not only just be teaching as a teacher would teach someone in a classroom, but also setting an example. So the priests themselves had to exude what a Pu'uhonua stood for.
Projecting a shield of spiritual power throughout the Pu'uhonua is Haleokeawe. Built around 1600, this is our island's royal mausoleum.
At one time, the Haleokeawe temple housed the bones of 23 chiefs.
And that's what gave the place a spiritual power called mana.
Surrounding Haleokeawe are 12 carved images called ki'i. The ki'i represent different aspects of Lono, our god of life.
He gave people a second chance to life. And the chiefs at the time, they wanted to give people a second chance to life.
A second chance is what the Pu'uhonua is all about. For our warrior, the spiritual transformation is nearly complete. His enemies will no longer do him harm. They recognize and understand the transformative power of the Pu'uhonua. For more than 200 years, Pu'uhonua Honaunau served as a sanctuary on the Kona coast. In 1961, Congress established City of Refuge National Historical Park. The Park Service, along with Hawaiian craftsmen and artisans, began to bring Haleokeawe back to life. In the 1970s, this place once again became a Hawaiian place. In 1978, it was renamed Pu'uhonua Honaunau National Historical Park. For Hawaiians, it is once again a refuge. At Pu'uhonua Honaunau, we can honor Lono and openly practice our traditional ways. Connecting the Pu'uhonua with the other parks is the island of Hawaii's newest national park site. It is the Ala Kahakai National Historic Trail. Ala Kahakai means trail by the sea.
I'll challenge you that you don't feel something. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of our ancestors walking that trail. We walk in their footsteps, literally.
Established in the year 2000, the National Historic Trail begins near Mo'okini Heiau in the north and winds around the island for 175 miles. It hugs the coast of western Hawaii, passing through 3 national park sites. The trail continues south, twisting around Kalai, South Point. From Kalai, the Ala Kahakai turns northeast, ending at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. The Ala Kahakai protects and preserves the ancient pathways that were critical to our people's existence. The trails connected communities. They also connected our ancestors to the resources needed to survive.
You could imagine that the trail was the lifeblood, the major artery, as it were. The Ala Kahakai Trail, one could imagine, was the interstate highway of a complete gathering system.
But as Hawaii changed, so did our uses for the trail. In the wave of development of the 1960s and 70s, the coastal trail, with its spectacular views, was especially vulnerable.
In many places, the trail is totally developed over, covered up, bulldozed.
By the time the trail became part of the National Park Service, many critical sections had already been destroyed.
Should our trails be lost, our connection to my kupuna, my ancestors, are severed. We are losing that immediate connection to them.
In Hawaii, we have a saying, e mālama I ka aina, care for the land. In that spirit, the Ala Kahakai is partnering with communities to save what is left. It is the kind of aloha these national parks inspire. Today at Kaloko-Honokōhau, fish are returning to our lokoi'a. So too our turtles, our honu. Along with endangered bird species. Here, the spirit of Kaloko beats strong. Pu'uhonua o Honaunau is once again a refuge. The bones of our ancestors are no longer kept at Haleokeawe, but the mana that was embedded in their bones fills ours. Pu'ukohola Heiau has also become its own kind of refuge. For Hawaiians, it has become the very symbol of unification and lasting peace. As our island grows, it is comforting to know these 4 national parks, cultural kipukas, are preserved and protected.
All of these parks that you go to, they have an amazing connection to our people. It's something that what we call po'e kanaka, those that are from this earth, those that are from these grounds, should tap into, to be able to offer their prayers, to be able to touch these rocks and understand that that energy is the energy of those hands and ancestors that have come before.